All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, Chris Wynn in studio. Glad you could join us. Plenty of sports to get to in hour number 3, so don't worry. We'll get to everything. Aces, Vegas Golden Knights, the NFL, UNLV. We'll get to all that. Republican Nevada State Senator Keith Pickard will be joining us next hour. He thinks that education is a far more important subject than guns. So we're going to ask him a little bit about that and let him state his case. I have a feeling we might be disagreeing on a few things here. And you know, that's fine. That's what we want. So that'll be coming up next hour. But I do want to talk a little bit about Brett Kavanaugh because now I guess the Democrats are trying to get his name out there again.
Wait a minute. It's back in the news again?
It is. And listen, he's already in the Supreme Court. I don't think we need to go down this route again. And I'm not saying it's right for Democrats to do this, but I do find some of this stuff a little comical and humorous. And I'll explain. Apparently, Brett Kavanaugh was a flasher back in the day. Yes. The FBI was notified that there was corroborating evidence to support several claims that Brett Kavanaugh showed his little Kavanaugh to some college female students, and there are witnesses that saw it as well. That must have been a very, very pretty sight. Hey, you know, I mean, look, whether it happened in college or not, it's inappropriate, obviously, thing to do. You can't do stuff like you just can't do that. Isn't there something called serial flashers out there? Like, aren't there people? I know I was watching Dr. Phil once, and there was a guy that apparently flashed like 50,000 times in his life, and he said he had a mental illness and a sickness. I don't know. I'm not saying Brett Kavanaugh has a mental illness.
I would anticipate there's a real possibility of that being out there, yes.
Apparently, a Democratic senator urged the FBI to reach out to a witness who had key information about alleged misconduct by the nominee while at Yale. And there are other situations that have come about. JD, I know you have one specific story that you can share with us that has recently come out in the last couple days about our very good friend Brett Kavanaugh. Why don't you tell us about that?
So at a drunken dorm party, so to speak, at the ripe, mature age of 18 years old, as a freshman at Yale, someone saw Brett Kavanaugh pull out his genitalia and attempt to place it in a female's hands.
Well, I mean, that's something I do every day. I attempt to put that in a female's hands every day as well.
On a regular basis. Right. Typically not in a public place.
I don't just take my clothes off and just here you go and just like, here you go, handle it.
Right.
You know, I mean, I would think most men try to do that on a daily basis, but they just don't do it physically. They just, with words maybe, hey, can you help me out here? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. You guys might want to pump the brakes on the description here because I got a feeling we could get some callers from the Me Too movement and some, attorneys that would come in here and say, "Oh, you're talking about sexual assault. You're talking about things that are illegal." So it's a
well. Listen, is Brett Kavanaugh a smart guy? Obviously, he's not a dumb guy. Mm-hmm. Was he an a-hole in college? Yes. You can call it what you will. Maybe I'll call it, white privilege. He came from a very rich family, went to a very expensive school, was a party animal. The thing I didn't like about what he was doing there in front of Congress when they were grilling him was that he said, I like beer, but then he seemed to claim that he never blacked out, he never drank too much, which is a complete lie. I mean, the guy lied. To say that he never got, and by the way, so many witnesses that went to school with this guy said, yes, he was a little bit out of control. We've seen him drunk. We've seen him black out. But according to Brett Kavanaugh, he's never blacked out before. To me, that is BS. That is crap. With that being said, the guy's already in the Supreme Court. He's already been nominated to the Supreme Court. It's over with, and I think Democrats need to let this go.
Impeaching him will be a really, really big issue.
It's not going to happen.
And this was 36 years ago. The guy is 54 years old now. He was 18 at the time.
Well, the thing is, here's the deal, guys. We've already gone through the confirmation process, okay? So a lot of this stuff, you can put it all into a big basket. We in general, we all know this already, right? So people have their opinions. You can have your opinions, but as far as impeachment, look, I don't know exactly what is there any new information that's come out regarding Judge Kavanaugh that could be impeachable, right? I don't think there is.
Kamala Harris is calling for it. Other Democrats are jumping on board. The problem is the media is portraying this guy as some type of sexual deviant, some type of over the top sexual deviant, and I don't see that in this case.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
I see a guy. Who was, well, of course they are. I see a guy who was in college partying, drinking, doing things that guys in college
Hold on a second.
Typically do. Obviously, these situations are a bit
flashing somebody
are a bit over the top. Clearly, assuming they are true.
All right, these are these are people that are running for president. Okay, that are trying. This isn't the media, JD, trying to stir up the story again. It just happened to come on the horizon, now we're covering it. We're part of the media, and we're talking about it now.
The
media is not making them out to be a sexual
biased
deviant.
media did cover it extensively before he was.
All media
nominated
covered it.
to the Supreme Court.
All media covered it. He was a Supreme Court nominee.
I don't think somebody that with witnesses present, that whether it's in college or not, that is flashing people should be in the Supreme Court. Now, that is my personal opinion. With that being said, I'm being consistent here and saying he's already on the Supreme Court. We should probably let it go. And if this stuff should have come out and Congress should have asked him about, now, of course, he would have denied it. It's a he said, she said thing. The problem is you have other witnesses that are corroborating this one witness's story. And so we'll take your phone calls on this.
And again, there was a Democratic senator who brought. I mean, so obviously there's a bias there.
Yeah.
It just there was no cell phones. There was no picture cell phones back then. There was. I mean, there's no hard evidence. It's all he said, she said. And if he goes down, it's in the best interest of a lot of people that are accusing him of it. So there's a total bias already integrated
Let
into
me just
it.
give out the number. Let me just give out the number, and then I'll let you respond to that. If you want to be a part of this conversation, give us a call. 257-5396. Phone line's open right now, 702-257-5396. I will also pose this question. Has anybody ever flashed you in your lifetime? I want to hear the story. When, where, and what did you think of it? If you've ever, and maybe you flashed somebody in your life. I don't know. I think to girlfriends, I've certainly done it too. I wouldn't say I've done it to complete strangers. I don't think anybody's flashed me in my lifetime. 257-5396, the number to call.
To your point, JD, Brian and I are sitting here right now as individuals who didn't think Brett Kavanaugh should be on the Supreme Court, making the case that Democrats need to let this go, right? And we're both saying that right now.
Sure.
Okay, look. Do I think Brett Kavanaugh is probably a really good judge? Yes. Do I think he's probably been a decent man and has raised his family in an honorable way and has been a decent man since his early years? Yes, probably. But being on the Supreme Court is a privilege. It's an honor. It's not a right. It's not a God-given right. Okay. And Brian and I think Brian. I'm not going to speak for him, but I think he would agree.
No,
there are
please don't.
other people that they could have put on the court. They could have nominated other than Brett Kavanaugh. That being said. Okay, we're saying now it's already been decided. He's already gone through his confirmation hearing.
Yeah,
he's on the Supreme Court, and we don't see any new evidence that the Democrats have presented or anybody's presented that would change. It would change that fact.
All right. Well, what do you guys think about this? Again, the number to call 257-5396. Should Brett Kavanaugh, the alleged flasher, be on the Supreme Court? 257-5396. Let's go to Brian. Brian, what's going on?
What's up, Brian?
Hey guys. Well, it's just like the Blasey Ford incident and all that we were subjected to for a week. This actually never happened either. In fact, the victim of this so-called thing, the girl herself, doesn't remember this happening at all. They neglected to put that into the first New York Times article. They've had to since do a retraction and put that information in there. And let's remember, this is about a book that's coming out. It's being pushed by an attorney.
Hold on a second, though. Hold on a second. No, but hold on a second. The New York Times also over the weekend said that they had interviewed more individuals who had corroborated the allegation by Deborah Ramirez. So how could there be witnesses that are corroborating it and then she's saying it didn't happen?
Well, she's the victim. You think she'd know more than anybody else, wouldn't you, Brian?
I understand.
If somebody's accusing me of a sexual misconduct, when I go to trial for it, if the victim says it never happened, guess what? They don't have a case, Brian.
Is this
the same thing with the Blasey Ford? Nobody corroborated her story. Not one witness came forward.
But there are witnesses that have come forward in this situation.
Well, it's baloney.
Well, how do you know that for sure?
BS.
How do you know that for sure?
I look at the evidence. Look at what's come forth.
There's no video. What do you mean evidence? There's impossible to have. There's no video evidence. There weren't cell phones back there.
Never happened. That is evidence, Brian.
So you're saying that these witnesses that have come forward are all lying? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. What I'm saying is they have an agenda, and the agenda is.
I do agree with that.
They want the next Supreme Court to be a nominee to realize what they're going to be subjected to, and this all goes back to one thing: Roe versus Wade.
It's possible, but again,
Period.
don't know that for sure, and we'll never know for sure whether he is a serial, I guess you could say, exposer.
I mean, this guy was destroyed in the media. He was portrayed as a rapist. He was portrayed as a sexual deviant. He was asked to stop coaching his daughter's basketball team. for God's sakes.
257-5396 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Norma. Norma, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hi, Norma.
Hi there, guys. Just listening to your conversation brought back memories of when I was the victim of that. Me and my 12-year-old best friend, we were at the store. This guy asked for directions, and he flashed us.
Ooh.
And just with the conversation, I can still see the look on her face. I didn't see it, but she saw it. And I could just still see the look on her face.
What was the size? I'm sorry, that was a horrible joke, Norma. I apologize. No, in all seriousness, you were 12 years old when this happened?
We were 12 years old.
Oh, that's
yes.
horrible. Well, there's nothing funny about that.
We called the police, everything. We called the police. We walked to the 7-Eleven. I didn't have permission, so I was in big trouble.
Ooh.
And so for not asking for permission, but
Yeah.
They came out. She had to give a description of the guy.
Yeah.
I didn't see it because he asked for directions, so I was giving directions.
So I don't understand. Is he wearing like a raincoat or something? Was he
was wearing a coat. He was wearing a coat.
Okay, so this
Yes,
was
he was.
predetermined that he was probably going to be doing this to a lot of people. I'm sure you weren't the only ones. Yeah.
No, we weren't.
So let me ask you a question. When you call, and I'm sorry this happened to you, and especially at such a young age. But when this does happen, and somebody flashes you, you're 12 years old. You call the police. Like, what happens? They just ask for a description, and that's really all they could do, right?
They did, and they asked for a description. They actually, if I remember correctly, I don't know who came out, but they actually did a drawing of the man.
Oh wow.
So it was pretty serious. I think he might have been a serial flasher around the neighborhood that we didn't know about. So they took it seriously. What I'm trying to say, in my opinion, with this experience, I don't trust if men have a history of this.
Yeah.
Or even, to me, once they do it once, they're perverts. And to me, I don't trust them around little kids. I don't trust them around anybody. And I mean, I'm not saying I don't know if he did or not, but there's allegations. I don't think they should be empowered. They should be making decisions.
Well, make no mistake about it, Norma. The problem is we don't know for sure if Brett Kavanaugh did this, but if we had a video of Brett, good old Brett, at the age of 18 or 20 or 16 for that matter, doing this to a female, I would absolutely say there is no chance this man should be on the Supreme Court. I don't care if it happened 30, 40, 50 years ago. When you're 16, 17, 18 years old, you're old enough to know that you can't be flashing your ding-dong to strangers, okay? I mean, so make no mistake about it. I'm on your side. The problem with this story is we just don't know for sure whether it's true or not, and we probably never will, and that's unfortunate, Norma.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
I when there's doubt, I tend to believe the victim because I've been one myself.
And I understand. Yeah, I understand that.
And that's not the only time. So
right.
men, that's not, as a child, I was also a victim.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
That's not the only time. Yes, that's not the only time.
Yeah. And I would imagine that stuff affects you for the rest of your life. It never goes away.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And it's so sad when I hear the news and the victims are not believed. I don't care what party you're from. I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat.
We should all be together on this. I agree. Yep. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Well, Norma, I appreciate you sharing that story. It takes a lot of bravery to be able to talk about, stuff that happened in your past, and I appreciate the phone call. Thank you so much, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Great show.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks a lot, Norma.
257-5396. Ooh, that was a gross story. 257-5396. Let's go to Pat. Pat, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, I just got one question. Where were all these people during the hearings?
Well, I agree. And I brought that up at the beginning of this segment. This should have been brought up, and all this evidence, whatever evidence it is, should have been put forth during the hearing. I agree. Now is too late. I don't want to hear about victims coming forward now. I don't want to hear about Kavanaugh being a serial, whatever you want to call it, showing his member.
Especially someone like Kamala Harris, who is plummeting in the polls. She makes a big statement like this, makes a big announcement about how he's supposed to be impeached. Again, there's a reason for all of it, and you're totally right. Timing is a huge part of this conversation.
And I don't understand for how big of a deal this is, how huge this is.
Well, we don't know how huge it was. I'm sorry. It's a horrible joke. I'm sorry.
Brian
Go
has a fascination
Yes, I
with
do.
phallus size for
Sorry.
some reason. It's very
You know,
disturbing.
I almost made
Members
almost
everywhere.
I
Members
almost,
only.
I almost made a horrible joke with that last caller. And by the way, I feel for her, but I got to tell you how sick my brain works sometimes. Hold on. When she said that she was just flashed, she said she went to 7-Eleven. I was going to ask her if she bought a hot dog there, and it would have been a horrible thing to say. And I'm so glad I didn't say that.
Terrible.
Yes, I'm so glad.
Well, anyway, the magnitude of this thing, you know, for how can this not come up during the hearings? I don't get it.
Well, I think the last call, we had a couple callers before that I think it was Brian that called and that said there could be some political motivation. I don't necessarily disagree with that. You know, there might be, Pat. We just don't know.
Well, and you know, I was a cop for 28 years, so I'm suspicious of everything. But
Of course.
I get it. I mean, I'm sure there's an agenda.
Oh, hold on a
I'm
second.
sure
You were a
there's people
cop for
getting
20.
paid off.
You were a cop for 20. By the way, thank you for your service. You were a cop for 28 years. Did you ever have to arrest somebody for being a flasher?
Oh yeah.
How did that go down? Excuse me, sir. Did you expose yourself? You know, put your hands behind your back. Like, how does that go?
You know, nowadays there's cameras everywhere, right?
Right.
And so, you know, you can pull ATM cameras, ATM machine cameras. You can pull school ground cameras. I mean, cameras are everywhere.
Yeah.
Even 10 years ago, there was a lot of cameras around. But you know, it's the Supreme Court gave police officers the permission to use deception when interviewing people to try to get them to admit stuff or try to you know.
Right.
So you can say you've got video, and you may have video, but the video back in those days was pretty grainy, where you couldn't really make out the face. But
Sure. Well, Pat, I appreciate your perspective, and thank you for being one of those people that protected and served us for so many years. We appreciate your call.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Pat. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Pat.
257-5396. Let's go to Frank. Frank, you're next on the Vegas Take. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad the officer was there, and he brought up deception. I actually, in my youth, had a cop said a judge say, ignorance is no excuse of the law. I said, Dad, I went back to Dad. I said, Dad, I think in the 6th grade he beat me up mentally about you don't sign your name on anything you don't read. Now, I can only speak for my day. I'm
right.
Yes. And where I'm going with this is, and it's a shame our country is only made up of about, 50 or less percent of two-parent households.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, the mom, the dad, whoever, the guardian, they also need to teach the thing called statute of limitations. And I haven't, since the Kavanaugh hearings, I've just barely heard that phrase, statute of limitations. This has been such an ongoing farce. But the demon rats have the alphabet goop media, and they just keep doing Goebbels, just keep.
Well, let me ask you a question, Frank. Frank, let me ask you a question. Let's just say hypothetically, and I'm not talking about Brett Kavanaugh. Hypothetically, you have a 70-year-old man that wants to be on the Supreme Court. And let's just say hypothetically there were cell phone videos back 50 years ago. When this man was 20 years old, he was flashing women. Is that somebody you want on the Supreme Court? Forget about the statute of limitations. A 20-year-old man showing his genitalia to women, is that the kind of guy you want on the Supreme Court? We're not talking about a job at a gas station or a fast food place, but quite frankly, I wouldn't want to order a burger at a place with a guy flashing it either. But you understand my question. Is that the kind of guy you want?
No.
Okay, so that's a fair question. I get what you're saying. We don't know whether Brett Kavanaugh did this or not, Frank. And by the way, I appreciate your honesty in answering that question. Thank you.
And there's a large difference between a dorm party with college women and a supermarket with a 12-year-old girl.
Yes, I think it's fair to make that distinction. I appreciate your honesty there in answering that, Frank. We don't always get honesty on this show, so I appreciate that. 257-5396. Kevin, you're next. What's going on?
What's up, Kevin?
Yeah, I guess my question was just it seemed like you guys are having a discussion about some kind of just the moral fiber of America and just who we're putting on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
But I guess with what you just said, if I brought you video, a cell phone video of a 20-year-old man flashing, and your caller said no, but I'm almost certain that anyone that voted for Kavanaugh or anybody that stands with Kavanaugh, because of tribalism and the way it is now, they would still vote for him.
Hard to answer that. Kevin. I think everybody has a different opinion on this whole thing. I can only give you mine, and we can only give you ours on the show. And my opinion is we just don't know if Kavanaugh did this or not. And it didn't come out in the hearing. What did come out was possible sexual assault. I don't know. This woman didn't know who drove her home. She didn't know a lot of details about that night. Does that necessarily mean 100% that it didn't happen? No.
But I will tell you this, Kevin. A conversation you want to listen to this week is Michael Avenatti, because he will have a lot to say about this.
Oh, yeah, no question about that. But it's
I
hard.
have one last question.
Sure.
Because I like you guys showing everything.
Thank you.
Is it JD?
Yeah, JD.
Your Republican
Yes.
representative. Okay, tell me, if you had a 19-year-old daughter, she wants the intern for Donald Trump, would you allow that? Would you be okay with that?
To intern for Donald Trump? Absolutely.
Yeah, just work for Donald Trump.
Yes, I would.
He would.
Side by side with him.
Yes, I
would
absolutely
you allow
would.
your 18-year-old or 19-year-old daughter, story-eyed, Trump supporter, through and through?
He would.
All in.
He
Yeah,
would.
yeah, absolutely.
And he has a daughter. He has a daughter.
I do.
so he can-
I do have a daughter. She's not that
I'm sorry,
old.
yes. Okay.
Not that old.
She's not that old, but I would absolutely allow that.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it there then.
All right, Kevin. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it.
The caller makes a good point, though, is that, look, tribalism is alive and well in America, right? And there's a lot of Republicans that when it comes to Brett Kavanaugh, okay, and when it comes to any conservative judges that have been appointed under Trump, it's all about the abortion debate, right? That's what matters, okay? That trumps everything, no pun intended, okay? So, they can put up with Trump's nonsense. They'll put up with all this other stuff that's going on because that, to them, is a signature and high point issue for them.
No question. We'll take more of your calls on the other side. Again, that number is 257-5396. We also want to talk about an advertisement that was played that is anti-Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. That's right, a freshman in Congress, and people are already putting up ads against her. She does not speak for the Democratic Party, but we will get to all that, and we will play that ad, and we will get your opinion on it on the other side of the break. I thought it was downright inappropriate. Your phone calls at 257-5396. Talk about that. And, of course, coming up in the next hour, Republican Nevada State Senator Keith Picard is going to be joining us in studio. He's made the remark that he feels education right now is a far more important subject to talk about than guns. We will ask him about that and, of course, talk about guns and education in hour number 2. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.